She didn't just leave, she erased you. Let's be brutally honest from the start. This wasn't a breakup, it was a verdict. A final judgment delivered upon the man you allowed yourself to become. You built her pedestal with your own hands, piece by piece, using your self-respect as mortar. You placed her upon it, handed her a gavel, and then knelt, begging for a merciful sentence. But mercy is not a currency that holds value in the economy of power. She didn't grant you a quick, clean end. Instead, she dismantled you, methodically, piece by agonizing piece, while you watched, likely thanking her for the attention. She took your confidence, your focus, your very sense of self, and she showed you that they were never truly yours to begin with. They were on loan, and the loan had been called in. You remember the exact moment the dynamic shifted forever, don't you? The air in the room grew thin and cold, the background noise of the world fading into a dull, insulting hum. Her eyes, which you had once mistaken for the windows to your future, became mirrors, reflecting your own desperate need. And in them, you saw the most devastating emotion a man can witness in the woman he desires. Not anger, not sadness, but a profound and dismissive boredom. It's the look of a predator that has finished its meal and is already scanning the horizon for a new, more interesting hunt. You had ceased to be a challenge, a mystery, an equal force. You had become a solved equation, a finished story, a ghost at the table begging for one more page when the book had already been slammed shut. Your very presence had become an irritation, a reminder of a game she had already won. You believed your devotion, your constant availability, your endless stream of validation was a priceless gift. In reality, it was a subtle poison you administered to yourself and a crushing weight you placed upon her. You didn't love her, you needed her. You made her the sole validator of your existence, the source of your strength, the center of your universe. And in doing so, you committed the ultimate strategic sin. You surrendered your own center of gravity. The great, unforgiving philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer understood this brutal machinery of existence better than anyone. He saw the world not as a stage for our romantic fantasies, but as a relentless, chaotic arena for the will, a blind, insatiable, striving force that animates all life. The will to live doesn't respond to pleas, to sacrifices, or to romantic gestures. It responds to strength. It is drawn to power. Your will had become a pathetic, whimpering slave to hers. You weren't a man driven by his own mission. You were a satellite caught in her gravitational pull, and your decay into a fiery, forgotten end was not a tragedy, but a simple matter of physics. As Schopenhauer would coldly observe, you mistook the limits of your own field of vision for the limits of the world. Your world was her, and so when she walked away, your world simply ceased to exist. In the days and weeks that followed, you became a pathetic detective of your own demise. You replayed every conversation, dissected every text message, analyzed every moment of silence, searching not for the truth, but for a loophole, a technicality in the verdict that would allow you to appeal to a non-existent higher court. You became a digital ghost, haunting her social media profiles, a masochistic pilgrimage to the vibrant shrines of her new life, a life that wasn't just continuing without you, but was actively thriving, perhaps because of your absence. Every smiling picture, every new check-in, every tagged friend was another shovel of dirt on the coffin of the man you thought you were. This obsessive, self-inflicted torment wasn't grief. Grief is the honorable pain of loss. This was something else entirely. It was the death rattle of a supplicant's ego, the final, twitching nerve of a slave who has lost his master and doesn't know what to do with his empty hands. You operate under the grand delusion that your pain comes from losing her. That is the lie your weakness tells you to keep you paralyzed. Your agony is not born from her absence. It is born from the horrifying, blinding revelation of what you are without her approval. Nothing. An empty space. A vacuum. But what if that emptiness isn't a void to be filled? What if it's a crucible? A training ground? What if the key to absolute power isn't found in winning her back, but in meticulously destroying the needy, pleading man who lost her in the first place? What if you could take that gaping wound inside you, not heal it, but forge it into a weapon so cold and so sharp that the world itself would have no choice but to kneel? This is the first strategic briefing in the war for your own soul. If this cold truth resonates in the pit of your stomach, if you recognize the suffocating silence she left you in, then your real training begins now. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico because we do not offer cheap comfort here. We forge psychological weapons. Activate all notifications, because every piece of content is a critical intelligence report you cannot afford to miss. Give this video a like to signal your enlistment in this new army. And in the comments below, you will answer 2 things. First, tell me the city or country you are watching from, so I know where our legions are gathering strength. Second, and far more critical, describe a moment when you willingly handed your power to someone, only for them to use that very power to break you. Do not write your story to be pitied. Write it as a sworn declaration, a testament carved in stone that it will never, ever happen again. Let's dissect the architecture of your collapse. It was not a sudden earthquake. It was a slow, creeping rot in the foundations of your own authority, a decay you actively cultivated and called love. You think she left because of a single argument, a forgotten anniversary, or another man. That is the comforting fiction your ego tells itself at night. The truth is far more humiliating. She left because you became predictable, manageable, and ultimately contemptible. Your downfall occurred in a series of strategic surrenders, each one so small you barely noticed the territory you were ceding until you found yourself a refugee in your own life. The first phase was emotional concession. It began innocently. She was upset about something at work, so you canceled your plans with friends, plans that were important to your own sense of identity and mission, to comfort her. You told yourself this was the act of a supportive partner. It was not. It was the first test. She was unconsciously probing the perimeter of your frame, testing the strength of your world. She wanted to see if her emotional state had the power to override your logistical and personal reality. It did. You yielded. The message you sent was not, "I care about you," but "Your emotional turmoil is more important than my own structured life." You handed her the remote control to your nervous system. From that moment on, every time you felt the slightest friction, your first instinct was to concede, to smooth things over, to absorb her negativity as your own. You apologized for things that were not your fault. You took responsibility for her moods. When she was unhappy, you saw it as your failure to perform. You became a court jester dancing frantically to distract a bored queen, forgetting you were ever supposed to be a king. This led directly to the second phase, the cancerous spiral of validation seeking. Having surrendered your own emotional sovereignty, you became a beggar for hers. Your sense of well-being became entirely dependent on her approval. You began to monitor her for microscopic shifts in mood. A slightly delayed text message sent you into a state of strategic panic. A sigh from across the room became a declaration of war on your peace of mind. You started asking those pathetic, power-draining questions. Are we okay? Is everything all right? Are you mad at me? Each question was a confession of your own insecurity. You were not seeking information. You were begging for an emotional handout. You were asking her to manage your anxiety, a job no woman respects in a man. Schopenhauer would see this with piercing clarity. The will, this relentless, striving life force, is drawn to expressions of strength and self-possession. Your will had become a parasite, desperately trying to feed off of hers. You were no longer a self-sustaining star generating your own heat. You were a cold, dead rock, hoping to catch a little of her light. Her silence, which you interpreted as a problem to be solved, was in fact a manifestation of her growing power. It was dominance, not inattention. In that silence, she watched you unravel, and with every desperate attempt you made to break it, her contempt for you grew. She tested you, and you failed, again and again. From here, you descended into the third circle of relational hell, affective dependency. This is the point of no return, where your identity dissolves completely into the relationship. Her friends became your only friends. Her hobbies became your hobbies. Her dreams became the only mission you pursued. You lost touch with your own purpose, if you ever truly had one. You stopped going to the gym. You neglected your own projects. You let your ambitions gather dust because all your energy was being funneled into the black hole of maintaining her happiness. This weakness is not confined to the romantic arena. At work, the man who constantly needs the boss's approval for every minor decision is never the one promoted to a leadership position. Among friends, the man who drops everything for his girlfriend and adopts her social circle as his own becomes a ghost, a cautionary tale. You made her the sun, and you willingly became a minor planet, your entire existence defined by your orbit around her. You thought this devotion was a sign of your commitment. In reality, it was a broadcast to her and to the world that you were empty without her. You had nothing else going on. You were not a valuable asset she was lucky to have. You were a liability she had to manage. The final, pathetic act in this tragedy was the breaking of silence. Not the strong, assertive silence of a man in control, but the weak, pleading whimper of a man who has lost everything. This is the "we need to talk" moment. This is the long, rambling text message sent at 2 a.m., pouring out all your insecurities and fears. This is the confrontation where you demand to know why she's being distant. You thought this was a move to reclaim control. It was your unconditional surrender. When you demanded that she explain her feelings, you were admitting that her internal world had more authority than your own perception of reality. You were begging her to give you a map to a territory she already owned. When you asked for forgiveness for some perceived slight, you weren't resolving a conflict. You were reinforcing the dynamic that she was the judge and you were the defendant. When you apologized, you signed your surrender. You confirmed that you were the problem, that your anxiety was the issue, and that she held all the cards. You laid your soul bare, hoping for mercy, and instead, she saw only weakness and was repulsed. No one is coming to save you, especially not the person who has benefited from your self-destruction. You may be listening to this and thinking, but I was just trying to be a good person. I was being sensitive, communicative, and loving. Let's dismantle that lie right now. You were not being good. You were being fearful. You weren't being sensitive. You were being subservient. You weren't communicating. You were interrogating her for your own emotional security. True strength is capable of immense kindness and empathy, but it does so from a position of a full cup. You were pouring from an empty vessel, hoping she would fill it for you. You object, but isn't communication the key to a healthy relationship? Communication between equals is a powerful tool. A desperate plea for reassurance from a subordinate to a superior is not communication. It's a petition. It's the act of a slave asking his master why he is displeased. The final objection is the most common. This all sounds cold, calculating, and manipulative. The universe is cold. The dynamics of power are calculating, and you have been manipulated, not by us, but by your own desperate need for an approval you should have been giving yourself. We are not teaching you to be cruel. We are teaching you the fundamental laws of interpersonal physics so you can stop being a victim of them. The fall was not visible. It didn't happen in a loud fight. It happened in the silence. It happened in your hesitation to state your own opinion. It happened in the 1,000 yeses you said when your entire being screamed, "No." It happened every time you chose her comfort over your own respect. Now you must look back not with nostalgia, but with the cold, detached eye of a battlefield strategist reviewing a catastrophic defeat. You must identify the exact moments you gave away your power. If you are ready to stop being a casualty and start becoming a weapon, then your work begins now. Like this video to signal you understand the diagnosis. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico and activate all notifications, because this is your new strategic command center. Now, answer this in the comments below, not for me, but for yourself. What was the one reasonable request you agreed to? The one small compromise you made that you now realize was the first crack in the foundation of your own self-respect? Pinpoint that moment. Acknowledge it. Because only by understanding precisely how you began to build your own prison can you begin to design your escape. Let us be clear on one non-negotiable term. There is no going back for the weak man you were. That man is a casualty of war, a ghost on a battlefield you have already lost. Any attempt to resuscitate him, to bargain for his return, is an act of high treason against your own future. The only path forward is not one of recovery, but of demolition and reconstruction. You do not heal this wound. You cauterize it with the white-hot steel of discipline, and you build a fortress over the scar. There is only the construction of the new. This is not an emotional journey of self-discovery. This is a cold, tactical operation. Your mission is to systematically erase every trace of the supplicant and engineer a new entity in his place, an entity governed not by need, but by purpose, not by hope, but by strategy. Your first operational command is to cut the excess, immediately and without sentiment. This means a complete communications blackout. You will not send a final text. You will not write a letter explaining your newfound clarity. You will not stage a dramatic final encounter. These are the theatrical gestures of a weak man still begging for an audience. Your departure from her life must not be a performance. It must be a fact. A sudden, inexplicable, and total void. You will delete her number. You will block her on every conceivable platform. You will purge your environment of her artifacts. Photographs, gifts, memories. Each item is a psychological anchor chaining you to the past. A weakness in your new fortress's walls. You must become a ghost to her. An enigma. She has erased you from her present. You must now erase her from your future, and more importantly, from your operational theater. This act of cutting is not born of anger or spite. It is a strategic necessity. It is the tactical equivalent of a general destroying all bridges behind his army. There can be no retreat. The only way is forward. This is how you reinstall scarcity. You were an overabundant, cheap commodity. Now you become a resource so rare it no longer appears on any market. Your second command is to install silence. Your silence must become your most potent weapon. In the past, your every action was a reaction to her. Her mood dictated your response. Her silence provoked your panicked interrogation. You were a puppet, and she held every string. No more. From this moment forward, silence is your default state. If contact is somehow initiated by her through a channel you missed, or through a mutual acquaintance, your response is nothing. Not a cold reply. Not an angry retort. Absolute, deafening, soul-crushing silence. Understand the physics of this dynamic. Any response, even a negative one, validates her importance. A response says, "You have the power to provoke a reaction from me. You still occupy space in my mind." Silence says, "You are irrelevant. Your transmission was not received because this frequency is no longer monitored. Do not reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. This silence will be more eloquent than any words you could ever speak. It will be a statement of supreme indifference. She will expect anger, sadness, pleading. She is prepared for those battles. She has won them against you 100 times. She is not prepared for a void. She is not prepared for non-existence. In the vacuum you create, her own mind will become her worst enemy, filling the emptiness with questions and doubts. You are no longer a participant in her game. You have taken the board off the table. Your third command is to control the reaction. This applies to the inevitable moments where minimal interaction is unavoidable. A chance encounter in public, a logistical necessity concerning shared property. In these scenarios, your demeanor is not emotional. It is transactional. You are polite, but brief. You are civil, but cold. Your face is a neutral mask. Your voice is calm and measured. You are a businessman, concluding a minor, uninteresting piece of business. There is no lingering eye contact. There is no hint of nostalgia or bitterness in your tone. You are a stranger who happens to have a shared memory with her, a memory that now holds no emotional weight. The key is unpredictability within this coldness. She must not be able to get a read on you. She must not be able to detect a pattern. You are a black box. Your internal state is classified information to which she no longer has clearance. By controlling your reaction, you seize control of the entire interaction. You demonstrate, in the most powerful way possible, that your emotional state is no longer tethered to her presence. You have achieved sovereignty. You must become an absence that carries weight, not a presence that begs for attention. These external tactics, the cutting, the silence, the controlled reaction, are merely the preparatory bombardment. They clear the battlefield. The real war, the one that forges victory, is fought on the home front. It is the total, obsessive, relentless focus on building your own hierarchy. This is your grand strategy, divided into 4 primary fronts. First, the physical. Your body is not a vehicle for pleasure. It is your weapon system and your suit of armor. You will train it with brutal, military-grade discipline. Every drop of sweat in the gym, every representative that tears your muscles, is an act of forging. You are not building a body to attract her or any other woman. You are building a physical presence that communicates power, discipline, and potential for violence before you ever utter a single word. Second, the financial. Money is the ammunition of life. It buys freedom, options, and power. You will divert every ounce of mental energy you once spent obsessing over her and channel it into your mission, your career, your business, your investments. You will become a predator in your professional field. Your ambition should be terrifying. Your success is not for her to see, it is for you to wield. Third, the social. You will rebuild your social circle not as a support group, but as a power base. You will connect with strong men who are on their own missions. You will cultivate a network that elevates you. You will become the center of your own social gravity, not a pathetic satellite in hers. Your value will be reflected in the quality of the people who seek your time. Finally, and most critically, the symbolic. This is your purpose, your flag, the reason you exist. What is your great work? What are you building? What is the legacy you will burn into the world? A man without a mission is a ship without a rudder, and he will inevitably crash upon the rocks of a woman's emotional whims. Your mission becomes your God. It is the source of your validation, your strength, your very identity. Arthur Schopenhauer saw the world as the stage for the will, a blind, striving, insatiable force. He wrote, "A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants." Your will was once enslaved, wanting only her validation. You must now redirect that primal force. The will does not respond to pleas or sacrifices. It is drawn to a greater, more organized, more powerful expression of itself. A man building an empire, physical, financial, social, and symbolic, is a blazing sun of pure will. He becomes a force of nature. This is the turnaround. It is not a hope. It is a strategic plan, an engineering project for the soul. The ultimate goal is not to win her back. That is a goal for the weak man you are destroying. The goal is to build a man so powerful, so self-contained, and so focused on his own trajectory, that her opinion of him becomes as relevant as a single drop of rain in a hurricane. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes presence will be feared. And in the economy of power, fear is a far more stable currency than love. Your reconstruction has begun. The blueprints are in your hands. If you are ready to stop being the victim and start being the architect of your own dominion, then show your commitment. Like this video to signal you have received your orders. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico and activate all notifications, for this is no longer entertainment, it is your operational command. And now, you will give your first report in the comments. I don't want to hear your pain, I want to hear your plan. Answer this with cold, tactical precision. What is the single most immediate action you will take within the next 24 hours to begin cutting the excess and installing the silence? Be specific. This is your first sworn oath in the war against your own weakness. The time that passes is not measured in months or years. It is measured in empires built, in weaknesses starved and strengths fed. In the silence of 1,000 mornings, where your first thought was not of her, but of the mission. The man you were is not a memory. He is an archaeological ruin, buried so deep beneath the foundations of your new reality that even you would need a map to find him. You did not heal. You did not recover. You replaced. You executed the strategic plan with the cold, dispassionate precision of a master engineer, and the result is a man who moves through the world not as a participant seeking acceptance, but as a force shaping reality to his own design. And then, the moment of the final test arrives. It does not announce itself with thunder. It is a quiet Tuesday evening at an event you are attending not to be seen, but to conduct business. The room is filled with the low hum of influence and power, a language you now speak fluently. You are not scanning the crowd for her. You are not hoping for this encounter. You have not thought of her in a measure of time that matters. You are a different entity, operating in a different dimension. But then you feel it. A shift in the atmosphere. A gaze. You look up from your conversation, your eyes sweeping the room with casual authority, and you see her. She is standing across the room, and for a fraction of a second, the universe holds its breath. The ghost in the machine flickers. But there is no jolt of pain. There is no surge of anger. There is only a dim, distant flicker of recognition, like seeing a photograph of a childhood home you no longer remember living in. She looks the same, but your eyes are different. You are no longer looking at her through the distorted lens of need. You are seeing her with the cold, objective clarity of a threat assessment analyst. You see a woman. Just a woman. The magical, almost divine aura you once projected onto her has vanished, and its absence is the most profound testament to your transformation. She approaches. Her steps are hesitant, a stark contrast to the confident stride with which she once walked out of your life. This is her territory, the world of social dynamics and emotional currents, but the air around you is a pocket of sovereign space that bends to your gravity, not hers. She is entering your frame. She stands before you, a ghost from a forgotten war, and offers a nervous smile. She says your name. And you look at her. A brief, polite pause in your ongoing conversation. You do not offer a warm smile of recognition. You do not offer a cold glare of contempt. You offer her nothing. A blank slate. A polite, almost clinical neutrality. I'm sorry, you say, your voice calm and even. Have we met? This is not a lie told for revenge. It is the truest statement you could possibly make. The man she knew is dead. You have no memory of being him. Therefore, you have never met. Her face registers a sequence of emotions. Confusion, then offense, then a flicker of panic. She reminds you of who she is, her voice a little too high, a little too strained, and you give a slow, deliberate nod of faux recognition. Ah, yes, of course. It's been a long time. I hope you're well. The words are socially correct, but they are delivered with the emotional temperature of a legal document. You do not ask her what she's been doing. You do not inquire about her life. You do not create space for a conversation. You have concluded the transaction. Your attention is already turning back to the person you were speaking with, dismissing her not with an action, but with a simple, effortless shift of focus. You have made her irrelevant in real time. In that moment, the entire power dynamic of your shared history is not just flipped, it is annihilated. The game board is not turned over. You have melted it down and forged it into a component of your own empire. She stands there for a beat too long, a statue of obsolete power, realizing that her greatest weapon, your need for her approval, no longer exists. She cannot hurt you. She cannot please you. She cannot affect you. To affect something, you must have a point of contact, a shared frequency. You are no longer on her frequency. You are broadcasting a signal so powerful and self-contained that hers is just meaningless static. This is the ultimate expression of Schopenhauer's will. Your will, once a pathetic tributary flowing into her ocean, has become a self-sustaining star. It does not need her light. It generates its own. Her presence is no longer a source of heat or cold. It is just a shadow passing through its system, unnoticed and insignificant. This is the vengeance that matters. It is not about making her feel pain. It is about achieving a state of being where her feelings are completely irrelevant to your operational reality. True power does not gloat. It does not seek apologies. It does not need to see its enemy humbled. True power is the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you have become the sole architect of your own existence. Your self-worth is not on the market. It is not open for negotiation. It is a state-issued currency, and you are the state. She did not just leave. She erased you. And in the void she created, you did not rebuild the man she broke. You built his replacement, a superior model, a man whose silence is more commanding than her screams ever were. Respect is never given. It is not requested. It is imposed. It is the silent, gravitational field that emanates from a man who has mastered himself. You did not lose her. You lost yourself in her. The day she begins to doubt the man she left behind is the day she becomes a ghost to the man you have become. And that day is today. Your war is not over. It has just begun. The enemy is not her. It was, and always will be, the weakness within you. If you are ready to sign a permanent declaration of war against that weakness, then commit to the new command. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico and activate all notifications, because every broadcast is a weapon you will need. Give this video a like as a signal that you have understood this final manifesto. And now, in the comments below, answer the single most important question you will face on this journey. When you stand before the mirror a year from now, no longer a supplicant but a sovereign, what is the one word that will define the man you have built? Choose it carefully. That word is your new flag. That word is your law.